Well, hello, Courier Nation. And today I'm posting this video as something that I'm tying into a post that I'm putting up on the website. Today is January 28th as I record this. And a lot of people, especially with Doordash, just got the email that said, hey, your 1099 is up and ready. And everybody's getting their tax documents in, and everybody's starting to think about taxes. And a lot of people are starting to panic about taxes because guess what? I don't have a record of my miles. Folks, you got to have a record. You got to keep a record of your miles. And the thing is if you don't have a record of the miles that you drove, then you're not really allowed to claim those miles. And if you don't claim those miles, you pay a whole lot more money in taxes, especially with the kind of driving that we do and the thousands upon thousands of miles that we put on our cars. And if you can't claim those, you owe an awful lot of money. And you may not have realized that you can claim your miles. You may be somebody that takes a standard deduction and you think, oh, I can't claim them at all. And so you didn't track them. Well, guess what? You can claim them because you track your miles, or you record your miles in a different place than you do with the standard deduction. And so all of these things are just things that, it may be that you just didn't know that you had to. It may be that you just never started. Maybe you didn't realize you're going to be driving as much as you were going to be driving. Maybe you didn't realize you'd be paying as much in taxes as you might have to pay. Or maybe it's just a day or two that you don't have a record and now you're scared. Now you're panicking a little bit like, oh crap, what do I do now? And I want to show you something. Especially if you use an Android phone, and maybe, I don't know if you can, I'm not even sure. I don't have an iPhone. So I'm not sure if you can put Google Maps on your iPhone and if it works the same way as it does on an Android phone. Now, your settings may prevent this from being able to happen, but guys, this is kind of creepy when I found out that you could do this. And that is that you can go to Google Maps, and up in the top left corner, you've got a little 3-line thing, the menu. And so we will tap that. And then the second one down on my phone here anyway is it says your timeline. Boom. There's a map of where you've been driving for the day. And just below that, now if you tap on this today, you can actually pick the day that you want to look at. So let's go to the 24th. It was just a random day there that I picked. And it's like, oh, now that looks like a day that somebody's been delivering, doesn't it? And here you go. You've got a record of all of these different points that you've been driving. And as you scroll up on this, you can see each step. So started from home, and I stopped to get gas over at King Soopers that day. And, so that was zero point 0.8 miles there. And then 8.4 miles before I picked up my first order. And then from that order, driving to some location here for another 3.1 miles. And then driving to the next location of 5.2 miles and 1.1 miles to the ramen place, and then 3 miles to an address in North Capitol Hill, and 1.1 miles. See where I'm going with that? All of a sudden, you've got a record of everywhere that you've been driving to. Now, what you want to do is you want to scroll through that and make sure, are all of these part of your driving miles for the day? But, as I look at this and I log on right away from home, available and everything. So as I scroll through this, I could pretty much, I've got the little summary at the top that says I drove 50 miles. And as I go through the day, this was all delivery. I didn't go anywhere before I went out on delivery that day. And so I start off with that. And so my first miles right away were really business miles because I go available right away. I'm on the app and I'm intending to accept offers. and then I go all the way down probably to my last one. And you can go into a lot of discussion whether this last bit, whether you can claim that or not. Some will tell you yes, some will tell you no. And basically, here's the deal for me: is I got to the one, I dropped off this last one at 8:38, and then I went home. Um, Usually at about 8:30, when I start heading home, I usually plan on going maybe a little bit later if I get a good order. That's about the time I'm saying, okay, I'm done for the day. I start heading home, and I keep the app on, but I'm very, very selective because I'm not going to take something that's going to take me further away from home. I'm about done for the night, but I still have an intent to deliver. And I think because of that, I could claim that whole miles. I tend not to. I tend not to claim that last trip home because for the most part, I really don't intend to take the trip unless it's something really extraordinary. And you can go back and forth on that one, and you could probably do it either way. But as long as you're driving with the intent to deliver, you can claim those miles. But anyway, we're going to say that I can't, all right? We're going to say that I'm going to call that commute miles. 6.6 miles is the last part of that trip. So 50 miles off of that, 6.6, and off of that. So I can say that I drove 43.4 miles for that day. And I write down my log. I write down a little log that just says, on January 24th, 2020, I drove, and I'll just call it, I drove 43.4 miles. I drove for delivery, and I drove in the Denver metro area. And then the thing that I think you really want to do is just take screenshots of all of this and then store that in a folder because that's your documentation. You can go back, and this is where I invite you to go read the article, and I'll put a link in the show notes because you can go back if you've got incomplete records, if you've got documentation that shows, yeah, you actually did drive these, and the documentation shows that, makes it reasonable that, yes, you could call those business miles. And you have that with this. So go back, if you're missing a day or two, something like that, go check your history on your Google Maps and see if it's showing your miles. So let's just go through some of those different days that I had. And nothing on the day before. That one doesn't look like that was a business or a delivery type thing. And actually, I'm not sure what that was that day. But, a lot of times you can just tell by the look of the map because then you get that where it's just all over the place, right? And you get to the next one. That's all over the place. You can tell that was delivery. So you've got stuff that shows that, yes, you were doing this. And then you have your pay records, your deposits from the different delivery companies that kind of corroborate that show, yes, you were out, doing deliveries on those same days and things like that. So if you keep all of that as documentation, you can recreate the record, but you've got to have documentation to back it up. And this record from Google Maps is a great way to give you that documentation. I hope this helps, folks. Go check out the article over at entrecourier.com. And until next time, folks, just remember, be the boss.